Well, Bennett Kessler also filed this report. Some uncertainty remains in two senior citizen programs partially funded by Inyo County, the Senior Legal Program and the Ombudsman Program. Now, a conflict of interest situation led to the end of the longtime legal program for senior citizens in Inyo and Mono in recent weeks. Now, Inyo County has gone back out to bid to find a lawyer to handle the program. Senior citizen problems over foreclosures, Social Security, Medicare, landlords, banks, and many other issues often found resolution under the legal program. Was partially funded by the California Indian Legal Services. Now, Inyo County usually contributed about $20,000 per year. Now, this year, when the program went out to bid, only California Indian Legal Services submitted a proposal, and employees stood up during public comment at an advisory council meeting to explain why the program needed more money. More desperate times and more seniors in need. Now, the Advisory Council to the Board of Supervisors did recommend a funding increase. Inyo Health and Human Services Director Jean Turner had recommended a lower funding amount. She reported to the supervisors about the Advisory Council meeting and plea for higher funding. Turner said Inyo County Council Randy Keller saw a conflict of interest with an employee lobbying for higher funds for her agency while also sitting on the Advisory Council. Now, Turner said new bylaws for the Advisory Council will no longer allow subcontractors like the California Indian Legal Services as members. This will eliminate conflicts. Now, do Advisory Council members understand the conflict of interest issue? Turner said there was a workshop on it at one point. Now, County Councilor Keller said that even though an employee of an agency may be the only one with knowledge of funding needs, they can't talk to the Advisory Council about it as long as they sit on the same council. Keller said the conflict of interest law is a very serious matter and carries criminal and civil aspects. He said, quote, "It's kind of unfortunate in this case," end quote. Now, Keller said that the employee did not mean to violate any laws and that the long-time program has been a good service. Now, the big question, what about service to seniors in the future? That's an unknown right now as Inyo County waits for proposals from local lawyers. Now, on another senior citizen issue, the Inyo supervisors awarded the Ombudsman program to California Indian Legal Services. Longtime provider Ombudsman Advocacy Services lost out. A 6-person independent review panel had given California Indian Legal Services a higher score. Now, Pat West of Ombudsman Advocacy said her group would appeal. Health and Human Services Director Turner said they did appeal and a hearing has occurred, and she said that no decision is out yet. Now, after this story appeared on our website, SierraWave.net, longtime local volunteer advocate Selma Calnan wrote a letter to Sierra Wave Media, part of which says, quote, "The confidentiality that is required by legal service prevents us from really understanding the bulk of their work, and the information we gained during the public comment helped educate us. While an attorney's opinion is valuable, there is a larger question for the public in our frontier country. Does the opinion of one hired gun trump the decisions of the elected body, and does a citizen lose the right of free speech?" End quote. Now, the entire letter from Selma Calnan can be seen again on our website, SierraWave.net. Well, it should be a wild time coming up this Sunday at the Mountain Light Gallery. Eastern Sierra Wildlife Care will be holding its 7th annual Wild Spirits fundraiser. The event raises much-needed funds for the care of injured and orphaned wild birds and animals. Now, according to Cindy Kamler of the Eastern Sierra Wildlife Care, the 2-hour celebration takes a walk on the wild side with wildlife ambassadors Razzle the Raven and Spirit the red-tailed hawk. They're going to have desert tortoises and other reptiles, and also a slideshow featuring Eastern Sierra Wildlife Care's wild patients. There will be door prizes, snacks, beverages, and a silent auction. And this year, Eastern Sierra Wildlife Care They're the people who rescue, rehab, and release injured wildlife. They're going to be honoring those businesses and agencies that receive calls about wildlife in distress and do such a great job in referring calls to the Eastern Sierra Wildlife Care. Now, many lives have been saved thanks to the efforts of pet and feed stores, veterinarians, pack stations, and resorts. Going to also talk about Mammoth Mountain, Bishop Chamber of Commerce, schools, visitor centers, Mammoth and Bishop Police, Inyo and Mono County Sheriff's Department, CHP, the Forest Service, Caltrans, BLM, DWP, Fish and Game, and Wild Spirits is Eastern Sierra Wildlife's Care way of saying thank you to them and to the entire Eastern Sierra community. You want to get out and help out some great folks. That's this Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Mountain Light Gallery, corner of Main and Line Street. $12 donation at the door. Kids 12 and under are free. And if you would like some more information, again, contact the very nice Cindy Campbell at 760-872-1487. Well, Ted Shady, the Great Basin Air Pollution Control District officer, answered several topics that were in that full-page ad in the Sunday LA Times, as well as a letter to the editor in the Inyo Register that was written by Los Angeles Department of Water and Power General Manager Ron Nichols concerning dust control efforts on the Owens Dry Lake bed. Now, in part, the letter from Shady states, quote, previous leaders at the LADWP and the City of Los Angeles have repeatedly agreed to their responsibility to control the dust caused by their water diversions. They shared the understanding that the LADWP's need for water comes with a responsibility to protect the environment and the health of the communities it impacts. These past leaders undertook one of the largest air pollution control projects ever attempted and have controlled almost 90% of the air pollution emitted from the Owens Lake bed. The problem is Owens Lake dust emissions levels were more than 100 times the standard, and in order to meet clean air requirements, dust levels must be reduced by 99%. The dust levels are 10 times lower than they were 15 years ago, but they are still 10 times too high. Shady continues, however, with the end in sight, current LADWP leaders have apparently decided enough is enough. They have concocted a list of reasons why they should not have to comply with past agreements and the law. And you can read Shady's letter in its entirety again on our website, sierrawave.net. Well, Get Safe is an organization dedicated to helping people, and Sierra Wave Media's Bill Lefevre talked with Stuart Haskin of Get Safe.
Stuart, tell us how you got into personal safety training.
Well, many years ago I started martial arts, and I think I fell in love with the Kung Fu series and thought that was great. But as I started training and I started teaching self-defense, I got a lot of disclosures about, hey, this happened on a date, this happened to me later on. So then I started realized I need to learn more about the personal safety aspect of things. The physical aspect was a little easier, but learning how to be aware. So I just delved into it. We started teaching personal safety and awareness, because that's probably, out of any self-defense class you take, it's probably 80 to 90% of it is being aware and staying out of situations.
So what kind of safety training does your organization, Get Safe, do?
We do a lot. We work with kids, we work with teens, we work with adults. Our model, Get Safe, is built on a crisis intervention, prevention, and recovery. So we always want to do prevention, and then if there's a crisis intervention, we have training to do that, and then we help with road to recovery, which we work with victims of violent crime, sexual assault, domestic violence, persons with developmental and physical disabilities. So kind of have a lot of programs out there that we're proud of.
In October is National Bullying Prevention Month. What are some quick tips for children to help prevent or stop the bullies?
Well, I think for parents, we'll start with parents. Have an open dialogue with your kids. Make sure it's a fun dialogue. That means don't corner them and go, hey, what's going on with you? Are you okay? Take them out, have a hamburger, say, how's school going? You seem like you're not as excited about it. There are indicators that the parents can see. You know, maybe they're a little depressed, or maybe they come home angry. That means they're lashing out at them, because that's the only place they feel controlled. Then talk to the kids, or find out, hey, is everything good? If anything ever happens, talk to us. We're okay. If not, we'll find someone else you feel comfortable talking, and we will keep it confidential. And if we decide there is a bullying issue, let's create a plan. and have the child be the head of the plan. It's their issue, let them help you guide it, and of course we'll give our adults opinions and then try and create something that they feel comfortable with.
And what's the difference between bowling and just normal kid goofing around, messing around type stuff?
Well, Bill, we're both guys, so I know when I'm hanging out with my buddies, you can't go 10 minutes without somebody trying to punch you in the private area. I mean, guys do that kind of stuff, so you know, we do that, but it's the harassment, it's the unaccepted, unwelcome advances, the verbal abuse, you know, the physical abuse, there's the cyberbullying. You can see the different levels. It's just horseplay where there's two willing parties. But bullying is when someone does not want this to happen, does not want this attention, and so they do everything to avoid it.
And who is most at risk for becoming a target of a bully?
They say kids that are isolated, they say kids that aren't as confident. I mean, that's probably holds some truth, but I think we just have to watch everyone because it's maybe the loner or the person who acts a little different. That's why persons with autism or developmental disabilities are probably 4 times more likely to be bullied because they have different behaviors. And then a lot of times they want to be included, so they put themselves in, and then the typical kids will start making fun and start bullying them. So that's because there is a difference. You know, sexual preference is a big bullying item. You know, people don't understand it, so they make fun of it and they, you know, start bullying that person.
And what can parents do if they do have a son or a daughter that's being bullied?
I would, again, sit down with the child. Then also make sure the school has a clear bullying policy. You know, talk to the school. What are you going to do about it? Because we see so many stories that the schools just brush it off or don't worry about it. It's okay, get over it. You know, and it's always to make sure that don't push your child back into the situation. Go out and take care of it. Go punch them because we don't know what kind of retaliations can happen, who's surrounding that person. Maybe there's going to be weapons involved. We want to give them some tools, you know, and so the child and the parents sit down, build a get safe anti-bullying plan, and then make sure you involve every support system that's available to you, whether it's on the bus, whether it's the teacher, the principal, the schools. Get everyone involved in a sense of maybe a confidential, so we have to figure out how to do it, but let everyone understand there is an issue going on if that's agreed upon with the child. So it's a sensitive such a subject because the child's afraid that it's going to be retaliation if you tell, but get a clear plan, find out, give the child some safety tools to go and be safe.
Is there a website that our viewers can go to learn more about your company and what Get Safe does?
Yes, there is. It's www.getsafeusa.com. So it's getsafeusa.com. We have resources, we have tips, and if you need something, we have trainings, of course. But if you need something that we can't help or there's a resource that you need, we'll help you find it. Because bullying, assertive, assaultive behavior is something that we want to stop, and it takes a village. It's just not one of us can do this.
Boy, there's some great information, and we sure thank Stuart Haskin of Get Safe and Sierra Wave's Bill Lefevre for that.